Thank you very much, Mr Chair. Happy to take a brief call on this amendment to Clause 2 proposed by my colleague Trevor Mallard that would set an expiry date for this outrageous piece of legislation, the Warner Brothers legislation to amend the Employment Relations Act. I do, however, want to pick up on a comment that Mr Mallard said. He suggested that the 8th of November would be an auspicious day on which to do this, a day in which people could celebrate, and he rejected the idea of the 5th of November and so on. I actually don't think that the 8th of November is an appropriate day to celebrate. In fact, it's a very bad day for us here in the Labour Party because 2 years ago on the 8th of November, the National Party won the election. So that is certainly not a day that we want to be celebrating over this side of the House. Perhaps this could be rebalancing. It was the day that I was elected, however, so I guess we could celebrate. We could certainly celebrate that on this side of the House, Mr Chairman. So I think there's possibly more auspicious dates for us to set for the expiry of this piece of legislation than the 8th of November. But Mr Chairman, there are very good reasons for this law to expire and be off the statute books as fast as possible. And in fact, the New Zealand Herald editorial today points out how crazy the government were to go ahead and rush this piece of legislation through at the behest of Warner Brothers. Although I have to say I'm a little bit confused about why we're doing this under urgency, because the government seem to be trying to have it both ways. On the one hand, they say Warner Brothers didn't want this, and then on the other hand, they throw Parliament to urgency to push it through because without it we wouldn't have The Hobbit. So which is it? Which is it? Which is it? Is it that Warner Brothers don't want it, or is it that they'd take The Hobbit away without it? I'm still waiting to hear. Government can't seem to make up its mind on whether or not the Warner Brothers actually wanted this. I think the Herald got it on the head here, hit the nail on the head, when they said Warner Brothers simply seized on the chance to apply pressure on unrelated issues. That's the New Zealand Herald's editorial. They hit the nail on the head. The Warner Brothers saw the government coming. They saw the government coming when John Key sent the VIP cars out to the airport to pick them up, whisked them away to Government House to Premier House for this high-level summit. Well, suddenly the price went up. And Warner Brothers realised they could demand whatever they wanted for The Hobbit to stay in New Zealand, and the government would acquiesce because they were that desperate. John Key was that desperate not to lose the photo opportunity of standing next to The Hobbit, because we know that's what this government's all about. It's how many photos John Key can smile and wave in. So they're going to oppose the sunset clause that Trevor Mallard's proposed for this piece of legislation because they don't want to do anything that would risk John Key's photo opportunities. Right. Because ultimately, that is what this whole government is geared towards. More photo opportunities for the Prime Minister. No substance to their program. No plan to deliver on all the promises they made at the last election. No plan at all. It's all about photo opportunities, and that's why they're so keen to keep The Hobbit in New Zealand. I want to see The Hobbit stay in New Zealand, Mr Chair. I'm glad The Hobbit is staying in New Zealand, but I don't think that we should give up our sovereignty to have The Hobbit stay in New Zealand. I don't think we should become the Warner Brothers colony that John Key wants to turn this country into, as this fantastic diagrammatic representation that arrived via email overnight suggests. Mr Chairman, I think the government should have had a bit more backbone than that. I actually think the government should have gone into bat for New Zealanders. They should have actually shown that they have some principles, rather than simply giving Warner Brothers whatever they asked for. And in fact, apparently, if you listen to what they're saying, they gave Warner Brothers stuff they didn't ask for either, because they can't make up their mind about whether or not Warner Brothers asked for this or not. So they say, yeah, Warner Brothers didn't ask for it, but we think it's really important, so we're going to push it through under urgency in a single day. What a load of rubbish. It's one or the other. Either Warner Brothers didn't want it, or they did. But the government can't make up their mind on that. So the Herald editorial got it right. But the Herald editorial, and the other reason why this should have a sunset clause in it, is very, very, I think, relevant. And they say the granting of exemptions such as this almost invariably equates to bad lawmaking. And they go on to argue it is foolish to go down the slippery slope of offering ever greater subsidies to attract industry or investment, that race nearly always ends in tears, Mr Chairman.
I call David Bennett.